I would argue that there is a compelling reason why small YouTube channels have something special to offer. And that is because of a little something called the Hey Friends, I've been having a great time doing these videos on content creation and how to grow a YouTube channel for you. I've had a blast. You folks have been wonderful. So for anybody new to the channel, I am not new to content creation professionally. I've been making my living online for over 7 years now, although I am relatively new to YouTube, having only started here last year on my first channel, which was a travel channel about living and traveling full-time in an RV with my husband Justin, who I co-host the channel with. A few months back, I started this channel where I talk a lot about whatever I feel like talking about, and lately it's been a lot of content creation because of the nature of my work. And for the most part, it has been wonderful. I love you guys. You're amazing. That said, there have been a couple of people that weren't so nice. Setting aside the fact that I had all that other experience elsewhere on other platforms, and that I am an author with 7 books out. I've been very successful with Facebook, both building large followings there and making money from those followings, as well as having an e-commerce business I run with some friends. Setting all that aside, I do think that there's a strong case from it being valuable for YouTubers to look to small channels who are growing. I remember one comment in particular. I'm not gonna call them out. I'm not a hater. I don't even hate the haters back. The haters are gonna hate. That's fine if they want to be full of hate. I don't like feeling hateful. And I don't want to really elevate or make this person a star, but essentially at the time I'd given some advice. I believe it was very technical advice about just some easy filming setups that I use for vlogging in public unobtrusively. And they had put a nasty comment on the video, basically berating me and saying I had no right to be giving advice to anybody on YouTube about anything because I had a low subscriber count. And I was like, okay, bro, that's cool. That's cool. That's just your opinion, man. You know, it's fine. I know I've talked about this in other videos. I actually have an episode about why big channels tend to get bigger, even beyond how the algorithm works. There's something called social proof, where it's almost an authority measure where people will look at the number of subscribers and then say, oh, this person knows what they're doing. Oh, this is a good channel because it has a certain number of subscribers. So there is a lot of authority granted to people who have established followings. I understand this because I have large followings on other platforms, and I noticed that people's complete way of treating me changed, even if I was saying and doing the same thing. It's like, oh, you idiot, when I had just a few followers, and then people are, when I get more followers, they're like, oh my gosh, you're so wise. So I get it. People tend to look at it like it's some kind of IQ number or something. I mean, whatever. Like, yeah. Fun fact, the IQ test, I'm a psychological researcher by background, so the IQ test has a lot of problems with it empirically, and it's okay, but there's all kinds of reasons why it's not the best measure of intelligence. It's really funny because people will talk about the WISC. It's a very common IQ test. They're specifically talking about that. There are tons of other ones, and there's all different ways that you can measure intelligence. There's different types of intelligence, but I digress. People will look on subscriber count and be like, oh, this person has 1 subscriber, their IQ on YouTube is 1, and this person has 10 million subscribers and their IQ on YouTube is 10 million. And honey, that ain't the way the numbers work. But setting that aside, I would argue that there is a compelling reason why small YouTube channels have something special to offer. And that is because of a little something called the curse of knowledge. Now, what is the curse of knowledge? Well, it is a cognitive bias that people have where they mistakenly think that whoever they're talking to has the same knowledge background. They basically wrongly think that things that they know are obvious, because to them they are, and they've forgotten what it's like to be a beginner. They've forgotten all the little knowledge gaps that you would naturally have because it's been a while. They're on to the next thing. And this can cause a number of problems. Actually, I'm sure you've seen this before. You'll have an expert come in to talk to an audience of lay people. And as they're talking about it, if they're not good at public speaking, if they're not bolstered by other people who are aware of the curse of knowledge and how this manifests, they will be talking to this crowd and they'll assume that the audience understands all these concepts that they're just dropping into conversation, and they won't take time to clarify them or define them or explain as they're going along. The audience won't be able to follow anything they're saying. They'll be bored, they won't get it, it'll be a bad, confusing experience for them. The good experts that talk to people, we have lots of them on YouTube actually. We have like science communicators that are really good at breaking down concepts for lay people who aren't scientists. There's a huge talent in being able to take an advanced concept and explain it well enough that you can provide benefit for people who are at the intermediate or advanced level, and also make it so that beginners aren't completely lost by what you're saying. And I think I see this a lot, especially in the how to grow your YouTube channel space. A lot of the bigger teachers, instructors, coaches have large followings already, and that's great. And all respect to you, I know how hard it can be to build an audience, but I think a lot of them are pretty far removed from it. They're working with people who are new to it, but it's very easy for them to fall in these curse of knowledge traps where they forget what's obvious, they forget what actually plagued them when they were new to things, and they're more in that intermediate space where they're offering kind of the tips and tricks, and they're not necessarily explaining it in a way that will resonate with people who are beginners to this. So it's good to have people at all levels of experience teaching concepts, because there's a real benefit to that. It's also fun to watch people grow, right? Like if you've got somebody new and you're rooting for them. I have channels that are small that I've watched and I've watched grow, and it's been really cool. You can actually learn a lot by watching somebody grow in real time and seeing what works and what doesn't and getting an idea of it. But yeah, the curse of knowledge. Additionally, when it comes to YouTube, conditions change a lot, and I think it's always good to have smaller channels who are in the trenches, who are trying things and sharing their analytics and sharing their ups and downs and their struggles out there with the skin in the game to see what seems to be working for them and what doesn't. And this isn't just when it comes to YouTube coaching, mind you, like small channels in general. Like whatever your niche is, whatever you're doing, you can learn a lot from looking at other small creators in your space and seeing what works for them and what doesn't, and what the conditions are in the niche, in a way that the larger channels have the momentum, they have the established audience, they've worked on that, they have lots to share and lots to show us, but there are different lessons to be learned from the smaller channels or the works in progress. And I think sometimes it's easier to understand the lessons as well, right? So one thing that they talk about as something that can be really helpful when you're building a YouTube channel is to go to different channel pages. Now, this doesn't have to be in your niche, this can be in any niche, but especially when you're looking at the kind of subjects and topics you're working on. You go to their channel page, you go to their videos, and you go to the most popular video tab, and you see what were the most popular videos for this channel. And a lot of times you'll find you can see what hits were for that channel, and you can say, huh, that's interesting. When they talked about X or about Y, then they had really good success. What does that mean about YouTube? What does that mean about the audience out there? What are they interested in? Not to copy what other people have done, but to look for patterns and to see what seems to be working. And that effect is actually a lot more dramatic on small channels. I think the curse of knowledge can particularly rear its head when you're dealing with YouTube specifically, because normally when you get an instructor, when you hire somebody in real life to be your teacher or you're in their class, they can be teaching you and then they can see that they're losing you. They can be like, oh my gosh, I'm not explaining this well. You don't know what I mean, do you? And then they can clarify. But when you're on YouTube, you don't have that. You're watching them and they're losing you. And yes, there will be some people that ask questions in the comments, but a lot of people will click away, or they'll think they've learned what you had to say, but they misunderstood you and they'll learn the entirely wrong thing. So I think that there are different levels of experience that are good for teaching different groups of people, and I think they all have a place on YouTube. Something you need to keep in mind too is that you don't have to be the most talented person in the world on any subject in order to be helpful as a teacher to someone else. You just have to know a little bit more than the person you're teaching. So somebody that's relatively new but has a little experience has a lot to teach somebody who's completely new. And it kind of goes on and it builds up there. There's a way to be helpful to people, no matter where you are, once you've had just a little bit of experience. So don't feel bad if you don't know everything, and understand that subscriber count isn't the be all and end all of authority. It's just one metric. Anyway, it's been great talking to you as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.